Welcome back to TechNest, everybody. We are so excited to have Shannon Lowry with us this week. Shannon is the owner and founder of Mud Lowry. He built the jewelry company during the summer of 2015 with buying power from more than 22,000 social media followers on Instagram. His Fort Worth business has been booming over the last couple of years. And so we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty of that today. But Shannon, welcome. We would love to start off with you just telling us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you for having me. A little bit about myself. I'm not originally from Fort Worth. I'm from Cocoa, Florida. My family's still there. I moved out here, I believe, October 2013. I've kind of always been into artwork. And then about 2015, I started making jewelry, and which was a really good time to start making jewelry because I also met my who is now my wife, Lauren, and she's my model. And so I married my business partner. She didn't know she was marrying into this, but and then we had a baby in 2018. Oh, I'm pretty sure 2018. And yeah, we're here now. I think we've been making jewelry for about 5 years, and I work for Lockheed Martin in Fort Worth, and so kind of like I'm working 2 full-time jobs, but it's pretty amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. And then one of the first things we also wanted to start off with is, could you tell us a little bit more about your social media journey? I know that looks a little bit different for everybody, but we know you didn't start off with 22,000 followers. So what did that look like from the beginning?
Yeah, so from the beginning, I mean, I've always kind of enjoyed social media. I'm not afraid to say it. I know sometimes social media, if you're addicted to it, it puts a bad taste in somebody's mouth, but I've always really enjoyed social media. Ever since I went to UF with Lauren, I've had like tiny little social media companies where I just kind of sold stuff off of social media. I had a company called A Boy Named Shannon, and it was just kind of like shirts with like saltwater fish and wildlife on them. And actually, Lauren wrote a little article about me in like the school newspaper.
Yes, so, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Amazing. So we've been in the trenches for a while. Look at us now. So I've always kind of enjoyed it, and I've learned things along the way. Not everything I've done has worked. So then I had my personal page. And I just slowly got into jewelry. It wasn't supposed to be a business or anything, but being Native American, I'm Lumbee, which is a tribe in North Carolina. I've always was fascinated with turquoise jewelry, and I decided to teach myself. And I would slowly post stuff, and friends and family would be like, even though the jewelry was not pretty back then, they would say, "Oh, can I buy this from you?" And so it slowly did turn into a source of income. So I kind of had to make the move from, and I think I probably only had like 2,000 followers just from having college friends. I kind of slowly made the move from stop posting personal stuff, and it was just more jewelry focused. So I think it looks a little bit different than a lot of companies where you open the Instagram, and the sole purpose of it was to be for that business purpose. So yeah, I think I, take away 2,000 followers from me. Those people have to be there because that's my friends and family. And I mean, we can talk more about it, but obviously along the way you learn things that you can do to get engaged with people that are not following you, which is what I've had to do to get to 22,000 followers. Like you said, it wasn't overnight, but I think that through trial and error, I've kind of figured out what's the best way to get followers.
Yeah. Well, cool. And one thing I want you to hit on that you just talked about was, there is that debate of, do I turn my personal pages into business pages? And we've been seeing that happen on Instagram a lot. Because you automatically start off with almost, 2,000 followers. And then you lose some that aren't interested in your business. But that is a debate of, do you start fresh and you keep your personal, you have your business, or do you merge them? So how did you go about making that decision, I guess, in the very beginning?
Yeah, I would definitely say I capitalized on the people that I already had there. I would always try to be like, if I wasn't posting jewelry, post something that, I've always wanted followers. I think that whether I was just like, hey, give me attention or give me your money. I was worried about how can I get more followers. Whether I traveled and post about what traveling I'm doing or where I'm snowboarding at, So I did get quite a few followers, and I realized if I made a new jewelry account by itself, I would have to get 5,000 new followers. Let's say that's where I was at the time, where I was deciding, is this going to be a jewelry account? Is it going to be a mixture of both? And I'm sure people that in the same situation have had friends or family say, hey, you should really decide what you're going to post, because I'm here for your friends and the photos of you, your wife and son. I don't really want to see the jewelry. That type of, when those conversations started coming up, I was like, I guess it would be time that I start to separate the two. And I think just because I did have so many followers about 3 years ago, when I finally made that decision, it didn't make sense to just throw like 5,000 to 8,000 followers in the trash. So I think it would just depend. Like, let's say Lauren is starting a photography business, or I don't even know. Let's say she has 2,000 followers right now. It might make sense to just delete her old photos and capitalize those 2,000 followers. But let's say she only has 200 followers, but she has 1,000 photos on her page that she just wants to be able to go look at whenever she wants. I would save that and start your own page. I think it probably looks different for everybody, but that's where my mind is at.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you highlighted that, and I'm glad you had that perspective, because that's one that I feel like I've seen with a lot of entrepreneurs, and it is a lot of those the hobby or arts turned long-term business ones. I think particularly I see a lot of my friends ones that are photography turn into their business, and their personal is the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. I definitely wanted you to highlight that. But I mean, so one of the cool stories that we teased for today that I think we need to start off with, because everybody here is dying to know, how the heck did you get your jewelry with Miranda Lambert?
Yeah, so one of my friends was like, when everyone stops caring about this Miranda Lambert thing, you're not going to be invited anymore. I'm like, no, we've been planning this before Miranda Lambert. So Miranda Lambert stylist, her name's Tiffany Gifford. We connected a few years ago on some other different projects with some other country singers that she stylist for. And just random one night, I was on my phone, because I'm always on my phone, and I got a message from Tiffany, and she's not one to just randomly message me, so I knew it probably was business related. I opened it up, and it was just, hey, what do you have that you could send in for the ACM Awards and for Miranda Lambert? And I was like, is this a dream? And so I just, this was, I'm making this up, but it might've been a Wednesday night, and she needed everything by Thursday morning, and I was like, I really didn't have a whole lot at my house. But I have a ton of friends and customers that live, in Fort Worth, because this is what people wear. And so I think we were driving around Fort Worth and Granbury and Weatherford, gathering up as much jewelry as possible to get it to FedEx and overnight it. Yeah, just pretty wild.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What an opportunity. Oh, that is so cool. And I mean, so do you think, was it like, did you target, not fashion designers, but sorry, my accent's coming out from Chicago. Not fashion designers, but her artist, was that part of your engagement strategy on social media, or was that more organic, how she found y'all originally?
Yeah, to sound professional, I want to say that that was my business strategy. It really wasn't. I had came across her and knew that she was Miranda Lambert stylist. And I think that at the time, maybe it was like a subconscious strategy, but I just thought, it would be awesome to work with Tiffany one day. And so I followed her, and I'm sure I liked her photos or commented on her Instagram story just to stay top of mind. And then one day I got my first opportunity to work with her. And so, yeah, maybe it was a little bit more innocent than, hey, I'm going to stalk you. Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a strategy there, because, let's say you are a wedding photographer and you see a new venue opening up down the street from your house, or within 30 miles, and you want to maybe be a preferred photographer. You follow them, start liking their work, message them, comment on their Instagram stories. That way you're top of mind, and maybe one day drop a message and say, hey, I would love to start a conversation with you of how I could work with you. So I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be a concrete strategy, but yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. Well, I bet that maybe made you stand out is, that more like organic approach than maybe like a pre-typed out message of, you know, hi, I'm so and so from such and such, like, you know, when it gets more of that rigid feel sometimes. So I'm sure it was part of your personality that made you stand out. And I'm trying to think of all the different ways that could be like applicable, you know, if you're a company with technology, if you follow different scientists online and you connect with them and you say, hey, I know this is your field. If you want to follow along our journey, we would love to throw some things against you, maybe, you know, stuff like that, where it's connecting with people in the field that could put you on a public pedestal. I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
because
like
I didn't know how you did that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. You know, I know whenever when Instagram first came out and you would get a random message from a business, and that was exciting because it would just be like, oh, an opportunity, but it's become very automated, and it's just almost like a copy and paste, and you know that's what everyone is getting. Not only does it sound not personal, but almost, you know, I think it's 2021. I constantly think I'm getting scammed. And when it looks copy and paste, I get this feeling that it's a scam. And not really genuine, possibly a waste of my time. And so, yeah, I would definitely suggest that anytime that I do reach out to somebody, whether it be an influencer or someone to do a giveaway with, I try to make it as personal as possible. I think that over time it's just become a habit because I know how it feels to get those automated, weird. I even get them on like LinkedIn and stuff where you're just like, I don't know what this is. Are you trying to attack me? You're trying to hack my account.
Yeah. What is this? Who, like, what is this bot? I'm always just like, okay, who is this bot? Like, what's going on? But no, I think one of the next things I want to talk about, you really just highlighted, is your personality and the care that you put behind it. But what are some of the other things that make Mud Lowry stand out, you know, on your social media? Voice is important. I would love for you to talk about that. But, you know, from captions to hashtags to what types of pictures y'all post, would love to hear about what makes you different.
Yeah, I'll try to hit on all those topics, but
we can separate it out a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna see if I should write all that down. One thing that I'm like most proud about, and when someone buys my jewelry, I want them to know. And I think, you know, Kayla Jackson is online. She's Native American. You know, there's a lot of topics right now, conversation going around the topic of like stuff being sold as Native American inspired or Native American style pieces. You know, there's very huge name brand companies that are copying off of Native American artists. And so I pride myself that my stuff is handmade and that I'm an enrolled Native American. And I try to put that in as much messaging as possible on my Instagram, without it, you know, being shoved down their throats. Because I think that if you follow me, you know, it doesn't have to be constantly talked about. Messaging. One thing that I've noticed that I never had to think about messaging until a couple years ago. A lot of people didn't even know who ran the business. Is it like a woman? Is it a man? Because not very men make jewelry. Not very many men are named Shannon. And so I used to have in my bio Mud Lowry by Shannon Lowry, and that is so freaking confusing. And so I obviously took my name out of it. And then in my, you know, your bio is a great opportunity just to put is what you want people to know about you. And so it just says Mud Lowry, Native American owned. And then, you know, we have a great opportunity in Instagram now to have highlights, and you can title them something that really would make, because I hardly ever look at highlights, but if it's titled something very important, then I'll read it. So my messaging, I try to every once in a while let people know that I'm a guy that makes the jewelry. And that's not necessarily important either though, but when you're messaging me, I'm sure it feels awkward whenever you're like, hi ma'am, how can I buy this ring? And I do like to correct them and say I'm a guy, because I mean, I'm a guy that makes jewelry. I think that sometimes that it makes it special because it's kind of a rarity. So that's another thing. And then also, I work closely with an organization that started at UF called Projects for Haiti. And this isn't necessarily a messaging thing, but it's something that I try to make obvious that we're involved with. And I share them on my story and here and there, is Projects for Haiti. Just to kind of show like what we're about, what we're passionate about. And it's not just jewelry and taking your money. A lot of, we do donate back to the organization. And then just the look of my Instagram. I I have like social anxiety, and so everything makes me laugh because I'm just constantly like, oh, it's so funny, even though I'm just like, what is going on? I'm sweating bullets right now.
Mhm.
And so like my social media and everything is funny too. I don't necessarily think I'm funny, but I think everything is funny. So I try to make my captions a little bit funny. And then like my imagery, I think is kind of like bright and a little bit more cheerful than like that moody, I don't know, kind of tones that a lot of brands use. And I'm not against it. It's just not really what I like in my mind. That's not what I want my jewelry to look like. So I think like, and I do get it. I've been getting it a lot more, and I'm glad that that's what people think is they'll be like, it's light and fun. And so it's
Yeah.
kind of that's what I envisioned. And I'm glad to see that that's what people are starting to think. I don't know if everyone thinks that right now, but we're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think, I mean, because that's almost getting into, your brand and what you want your brand to be perceived as and how people view you. Has that changed over time, since 2015? You were saying you've had a lot of lessons learned of what works well, what doesn't. Are When you refer to those lessons learned, is that how to use the platform, or is that lessons learned on what is you in this company and what this company, what you want it to be in the future?
Yeah, those are both of those are really good questions. I think that I've learned on both aspects. So I've learned like how to use the platform to get followers. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily try to focus. I do. I'm very happy I have 22,000 followers, but if you think about it, that's not that many. There's high school kids that have 100,000, and they've barely been alive for very long. You're like, what are you doing? So I don't look at it as like how there's a lot of artists that have a lot more followers than me that make jewelry. But sometimes the amount of followers you have does not correlate with the amount of
Mhm.
income that you have coming in. So I try not to focus on that too much. When I do know that there's some things that I could be doing right now where I could be getting about 1,000 followers a week, but it would take away from my bigger goal. And so you asked about how could I use a platform and what I've learned
Mhm.
from that. So I've also learned through using the platform what I want my business to look like. And when I started out, I did custom orders. And so I really wasn't making jewelry that I loved. I was more so making jewelry that people want. Like 20 people would come to me with 20 different designs. They didn't look really anything alike. They weren't very cohesive. They weren't really something that I would have just made on my own. And that really took the passion out of it. And it was just constant me posting jewelry that I was like, I hate how all this flows together. It's not my style, but I want to make money. And I guess, I don't think I would be where I'm at if I wouldn't have taking custom orders, but now I'm getting to a position now where I'm able to just feel like you kind of dial in on how I'm feeling creatively and just come up with a new design and market it. I do all my own photography. We can talk about that later, but and I kind of tease it, and then I'm able to post it on my website, and then it'll sell. I don't do the pre-selling through custom orders anymore. And through social media, I've been able to just slowly within the like last year switch the way that I was running my business, and it's brought me so much more freedom. And just I would go to bed at night being like, oh, I have 60 custom orders over my head, instead of going to bed at night saying, what should I make tomorrow? Because I can literally make whatever I want to make tomorrow. And social media, we have our feed, and it's basically just a window into who we are as a company. I've been able to just really start to make that what I want it to be. So
I wanted to write that down, but Lauren, I might toss that to you. If you could write that down, I would love to use that quote for later. Later. No, that was great. No, and I think those are some really good insights, because I think over the years, and also platforms change over the years. So everything has to change, what you post, how you post, they made the additions of the stories, of the highlights, of the reels. So I guess kind of looking forward, do you, see yourself really getting into those reels? Is that what you're talking about of what could add those 1,000 extra followers? And then after we talk about this, I want to get into what you had mentioned about how followers don't exactly equal sales. But first, yeah, what do you see as the future kind of with Instagram? Do you see it kind of staying the same, or doing some of the new strategies they're coming out with?
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I think that obviously we'll start seeing a lot more people use Reels. I mean, use Reels. I'm assuming that a lot more companies, smaller companies, startup companies are going to start taking advantage of it. I have noticed that when I do post a Reel and take the time out of my schedule to create like a really cool one, I get a lot of good engagement. And so, yeah, I think I think that's where I'm personally going, and I think that's where the accounts that I follow are going, because I've started to notice that. I did think it was going to be more of like, they did create that new option to, and it's been a couple of years, to add products to your Instagram account. Um, and for me personally, I kind of do everything on my own. And so I do my photography, I do my photo editing, I create my jewelry, I do the shipping, I do everything. And so, except for my wife, she helps with the modeling, but it's hard to do everything. And so you'll look at my page and say, hey, why don't you post, why don't you take advantage of the products? But that's a whole other task on its own. And so I really try to figure out what can I save time on, and that I don't think is making me too much money and isn't helping me out a whole lot. And so that's one thing I don't really take advantage of, is using that product option on Instagram. But I do think a lot of companies will, there's a lot of companies on Instagram that don't have a website yet, and they're just selling off of messaging or sending PayPal invoices. I think that as they start working with companies like Shopify that have integration, where they can integrate their product on the Shopify into Instagram, that will become a lot more popular. I am seeing a lot of people use that more often. Obviously, larger companies that have teams, that have an e-commerce team or a digital marketing team, they have the opportunity to do that. But when you're one or two employees, you really try to capitalize on what you can make the most bang for your buck off of using, which for me right now is what you said, Reels.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, yeah, no, let's get into that whole aspect of it, of followers to sales. So do you see, I have so many questions with that, but what does that kind of look like for you? When did you see the amount of followers change that really affected the amount of sales you were getting? And what tactics do you use to sustain those sales, or to, shoot them up every now and then?
Yeah. Let me see. So let's say right now I have 22,000 followers, and I'm going to make these numbers up. So let's say right now I have 30,000 followers, and every year I'm profiting $100,000. And then you compare me to someone in my industry who has 200,000 followers, but only profits $50,000 a year. They're spending, in my mind, I would say that they're spending more of their time focusing on gaining followers and focusing on what the good followers they have want to buy. And so, right now I know, so I could do a giveaway with a huge influencer and spend a lot of time strategizing and making a piece of jewelry for that giveaway and all that type of stuff, which takes a good deal out of your schedule. And I think I could get like 2,000 followers, 1,000 followers from it, depending on who I do it with. And that's cool, but you're only getting those followers because they had to participate or they saw a certain celebrity tag you. Those aren't buying. A lot of times those aren't buying followers. Those are just people that are there to like your photos. And that doesn't pay my bills. So I'd rather focus on the people that I have that follow me, that I know what they want to buy. And when I'm on social media, I would focus more on those ones that are constantly commenting on my stuff, asking how much something is, when will this be added to my website? And if I only get one more of those type of people a week, I'd rather have that one good follower that's going to buy than have 60 followers that just sit there and view my stories.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I focus more on. I go back a lot to my Instagram stories, and you get the option to see what people went back on.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to really focus on what people are going back on and why did they go back on that. Why did something get sent so much? And I really try to figure that out. And try to recreate something that was saved, sent, commented on, liked, whether that's a long skinny pair of earrings. I'm thinking, oh, that sold in less than 20 seconds on my website. They got this many saves, this many sends. That must be what my followers want. And so I'd rather focus on that than focus on a giveaway. which would gain me, whatever, how many thousand followers, but I don't think it would get me customers.
Yeah. No, and I've seen an interesting theory where they're talking about giveaways and how if you get followers from giveaways, you're more so attracting people that are looking for the free things. So they'll be looking for the next giveaway instead of the next opportunity to purchase something. So it's interesting. If anybody has more information about that. Cool.
Yeah, I think that what you said is true. And a giveaway is just kind of like my easiest thought because it's kind of like a no-brainer if you're just solely looking for followers. Reels too. I posted a reel not too long ago, and I just kind of just started posting reels, but I would just open my Instagram and there'd be 20 new followers, and 10 seconds later there'd be more. But they're not buying anything. I would click on their account and they didn't look like they didn't follow any companies like mine. So I pretty much knew these aren't customers. These are just people that are here for entertainment, which is great. And I want that. But it takes time. If I have 5 hours during the week cut out that I could do whatever I want with, do I want to make jewelry that I know people will buy, or do I want to go out and make a video for a reel that I'm just going to use for entertainment?
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of segues into the next thing that I want to talk about is time, so let's say if you could just give us like a base of your week. What does your week look like? What does it look like running your company, working on it, doing the back end of it, that like operational, how many hours on that? And then, how many hours do you put towards social media and, looking at your, customers, how many of those hours is following up with them afterwards, or like, if there's anything they need fixed or, stuff like that. So what does your week kind of entail and look like?
Yeah. So I work full time for Lockheed Martin. I get off work at like 4:30. From there, I go straight to either the post office or to just start working on jewelry. And so what do you have? You're from like, let's say 5 to 12. I'll just, I'm working on jewelry, taking care of my son because my wife works nights, and editing photos. And so let's say like 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, I'll work on jewelry. About 1 hour a day is probably spent on shipping. And then about 2 hours a day is probably spent on responding to Instagram messages, and which is companies that do invest in somebody to manage Instagram is probably the smartest thing to do, because you don't want to turn away a customer that's just trying to buy, but you have no one to respond. You don't have anyone that can help you respond. I probably have like 60 of those, that hidden folder. And a lot of them are really good questions, but I just haven't had the time quite yet to respond because I'm answering the questions that, let's say, hey, my package shipped last week, but I don't have it yet. Those are more important than the ones that want to know when I'll have a new update, in my mind, because they've already paid. Yeah. It's just so hard to prioritize and make time for the new customers, focus on the ones you do have. And, but, I would say, about 2 hours a day, social media, 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day working on jewelry, and
then the full time.
Yeah. And then, I don't, a lot of people say it all the time. Like the ones that I told you, that my friends that might have 100,000 followers that sell jewelry, they're like, why do I have more followers than you? Why am I not selling out? Why this, why that? And I'm obsessed with it, and I stay up sometimes. And I don't think this is good business advice. It's 2021. And I know that a lot of times people are talking about mental health and taking care of yourself, but I'll stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning to get what I need to get it done, because this is like, it's like a dream of mine, and I have to get it done. I have to work at Lockheed, and I have to get this work done. So if I try to tell him, I said, maybe one reason why this stuff isn't happening for you is you're relaxing too much. Maybe don't watch TV. I don't know. In my mind, I'm thinking it may not be working because you're getting a healthy amount of sleep.
Yeah.
Stop taking care.
Your priorities are maybe elsewhere. Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, when you have a full time, you have a startup, and you have a family, I mean, you have to cut out a lot of the stuff that doesn't fit into those pillars.
I completely agree with you. I have a couple of friends that have startups, completely different. I have a friend that's starting an app. I have a friend that it has like a kind of like a restaurant company, and a lot of them are really, really hard workers. And I'm not saying don't go to sleep. I'm not saying don't hang out with your family and all that stuff, but they work very, very, very hard. Like,
Mhm.
you know, if it's like, hey, let's go fly fishing. And somebody's like, they take it seriously. Like, no, I can't go fishing today. I have to work. That's
Mhm.
what that kind of looks like. It's prioritizing, you know, this goal of yours. And when you have employees, it's much different because it has, you know, it's a requirement. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, no. And I think that's a really interesting topic because you do see that for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the early years, you know, when it is more 1 to 3 to 5 people on the team before they start having those employees that have, you know, 40-hour weeks and or part-time employees that clock in 25 hours or anything like that to help. You do see a lot of those longer hours. So I'm glad you brought that up because it's interesting, and it's interesting to see, okay, now what is, you know, when is that switch, you know, to you've accomplished what your business needed, you're scaling, you have a team that can help you out, you know. So I think it looks different for everybody's timeline, you
I
know.
agree.
And I do think there is something to, like, you know, the longer you work, you might get there faster, you know. So but enough on the time. I just really wanted to get your thoughts on that. I think that's very interesting. um let's see. Okay, so one other thing that I wanted to talk about was the use of hashtags. How much effort do you put into hashtags? Have you seen them really work? Are they kind of just a myth in your idea, in your mind? Would love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I'm probably not the best person to ask because I do think that they're very outdated now.
Mhm.
Along a couple of years ago, I several years ago now, I managed a chain of Western stores that had just opened up. We opened up one in downtown Stockyards, Fort Worth, and then one kind of out west, about 30 minutes. And we use hashtags all the time to build our Instagram. I think we got up to like 80,000 followers in like 2 years, but really, really capitalized on hashtags. But the hashtags were more event centered. And so if we knew that there was an event coming up, we would, it's because it's a Western store and there's a big rodeo event called the NFR. And I don't know, you don't have to know what I'm talking about to understand, but um, so we would just hashtag those events and hashtag that location and whatever, and really, because we knew that if you were going to go up to those events, you would be looking at those hashtags to see who's going to be performing, what will people be wearing, because a lot of retail businesses would say this is what people are wearing to this week-long event, and really took advantage of that. I'm still kind of in the same industry with my jewelry, and so when that event does come around each year, I'll use those hashtags, and it doesn't work like it used to. I noticed, you know, it hasn't grown compared to how fast the amount of hashtags were being used several years ago. I
Mhm.
do think, however, it's important to create your own hashtag, because, and this may be something we'll talk about later, but I've created my own Mud Lowry hashtag that people can use in their own captions. And so I'll be able to track who's proud of their stuff, you know, who's actually posting it. And that way I can share it on my story. It's a good way to track that because a lot of people aren't going to think to tag you in photos or think to tag you in their stories. And so that hashtag is just another way that I can see where my product is at, how it's being worn, and what hashtags they're using with it. Because a lot of people that are going to use a Mud Lowry hashtag are going to be using, let's say, cowgirl, hashtag Texas style, or I don't know. I do think that there's some companies that use it. There's also a lot of wrong ways to use hashtags, and you can get made fun of for it. So you could let's say there's drama in the news. You know, during the election, it might have been smart if you're a company and all you cared about was followers to use hashtag Joe Biden, Donald Trump, because you know a lot of people are flocking to that to get updates on the election, and you'll just be at the top if you know. And so you could use hashtags like that, but that's not very organic.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing that people do to tag celebrities in their photos. And you know, if you want to do that, that's great and wonderful. But um, I think it kind of hurts your brand a little bit. So there's not a whole lot of hashtags that I've noticed lately. And I've worked for a couple large brands. I worked in downtown Fort Worth for Justin Brands, Tony Lama Boots. I was a marketing manager, and we used hashtags quite a bit, but I don't think it made a huge impact in my day-to-day social media. unless I was truly trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think for the use of hashtags, I think the most important thing to me is create your own. And it really wouldn't be used for, the explore page, for example, but I think it would be more used for the followers from other people that are looking at that photo and wondering why they just used that Mud Lowry hashtag, and then they'll go to my photos. That's just my personal opinion. I feel like I'm talking crap about hashtags, but I'm just not a huge fan.
No. And what I think is interesting, I mean, when I go to purchase something, or if I see a brand on Instagram, I'll go to their tagged or to the hashtags that include them, just to see, what these products look like in real life.
Yeah.
What they look like. So yeah. And okay, so it's right at 5:15. Also, it says my internet is unstable. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you were paused for a second.
Okay, let me know. Just hold up a hand or something if I pause again. It's right at 5:16. I wanted to open it up to community questions. If you're here, go ahead and put your question in the chat. I'll read it out loud. As you're thinking of your questions, again, go ahead, put those in. I have one more question for you, Shannon. And so while they're thinking of theirs, one thing that I want to know from you, are there any no's? Like, never do this on Instagram. Please stay away from this. Any of those?
I don't know if you remember this. It was, I'm sure people still do it, the whole like following a ton of people to get followers and then mass unfollow. I think that's just, I think it's disgusting. I don't recommend that. I think it's very disingenuous. I get it. I see a lot of people that are trying to become influencers do that all the time. I think that when people notice that's what you're doing, they remember that for forever. I know of an actual person in general that did that, and with so many people made fun of them for it, because there was a close group of friends, and we just constantly were like, "You're catfishing us." But I would say that would be my biggest no. Don't just randomly follow people to get more followers and to get engagement. Just if you are genuine over time, you'll get that engagement.
Yeah, and I think you get, now at least there was a whole trend that went on TikTok of people unfollowing and doing that. And Instagram has been locking people out if they unfollow more than, I think, like 20 or 30 at a time. So that's interesting. And I just posted in the chat, so feel free, start putting your questions in there. Let's see. Okay. So
do you have a question? Oh, she's back.
Hi, Ashley.
Welcome back.
Hi y'all. Well, I couldn't say. You're not going to be there permanently. Is that a bad idea?
Yeah, I think I was talking, but I think we got frozen. But I was just saying, definitely, I do think after saying all that, I did remember, you're traveling, like say Glacier National Park, or and so that type of thing, I do think hashtags would be very important, but hardly ever will I be in Glacier National Park. So I wouldn't want to use that Glacier National Park any longer after I'm no longer there. So if I was there taking photos of my jewelry and I post them, yeah. And I did that in Martha's Vineyard with my wife, and we got a lot of followers from that, but it was very genuine. And so I would say that don't not use hashtags, but make it very genuine. Let's say you are a tech company, I guess, whatever you guys sell, do, if it's security or whatever, use that hashtag. But yeah, I do think that if it's genuine, definitely use them. You just may not see a huge leap in followers and engagement from it all the time. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Awesome. Let's see. Okay, we had 2 questions come through, and yeah, I just re-abled the chat room. So sorry that was closed down for a little bit, but it's back up now. So yes, feel free to do what Ashley did. Raise your hand or put it in the chat. Ashley, give me 1 thumbs up. Did you get all your questions answered, or do you have another one? Oh, one more? Go ahead.
Can I just ask? Yeah, one more. So when you're first starting out, just kind of, you don't really have a direct target, maybe because you're kind of a Jane of all trades. You kind of do a bunch of things. And is it a negative to post and talk about a lot of the things that you do and that you incorporate in your life? Or is it a positive because you're going to, I mean, people have said it's rifle or shotgun, pick one. But for my life, I'm pretty much a shotgun. Like, I do a lot of things. I have a lot of fun. And I kind of want to just bring people along for the ride. I haven't always been able to do this, but I'm just curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I 100% think that you should. I hear people say pick one or the other, and I don't think I don't agree with that. I think that as you get into this and as you start taking advantage of social media or whatever you're doing, I think you'll start realizing, hey, let's say I'm going to make this up just because I got into it, guitar playing, and I started posting about it, but no one asked about it. And I'm just like, okay, where's the attention that I'm seeking? And I'm not getting it. But let's say I also paint, which I paint or whatever. Then I get a ton of engagement from painting. I might say, oh, I might focus more on the painting. I'll show them the guitar playing every once in a while, but I can tell that they're here for more of the painting or cooking. If, let's say whenever I cook, I get more engagement from that. This might be a good example, but over coronavirus, we got an air fryer and I was cooking up, I go on Instagram live and because I have become friends with my followers, but I would go on Instagram live. I'd be like, hey, I just came in for making jewelry. I just wanted to answer some of y'all's questions while I'm cooking whatever, coconut shrimp in the air fryer. And that was something new. And then also something that some of my followers that I don't talk to a lot are interested in. And it just gave them something new to see me do, or kind of like break the mold of constant jewelry. I think that you're in a really good position because you have so much going on and that you'll be able to see what you need to capitalize on, and you just have so much to choose from. I think that's exciting.
Awesome. Wonderful. Let's see. Okay, so in the very beginning, one of the questions was, in the very beginning, you chose to post about your designs, overselling those custom orders that people had said that they wanted. Have you ever looked back and wondered how your business might be different if you had kept doing the custom orders?
Yeah, so the custom orders has only stopped just recently, probably within the last year. I still do it for like people that have spent thousands of dollars with me, and I'm like, they're not even, it's not like a beggars can't be choosers type thing. It's like, I really appreciate their business and I want to take a custom order with them. But if I would still continue to take these custom orders that truly do stress me out and they're like a weight on my shoulders, I don't know how much longer I would have stuck with it. There's a lot of creativity that was not included in that. I didn't really care to do a photo shoot with those custom orders just because none of them flowed together very well. I didn't have time to create stuff that I just wanted to create for fun. And so I don't think my business would have taken off like it did, just because I didn't have the opportunity to make stuff that, let's say, Miranda Lambert would wear on the ACM Awards. But I do think that I still need to have the opportunity there to do a custom order here and there for those really special clients. Not that everyone's not special, but there is a time and a place. You don't have to change your whole business just because everybody wants a custom order.
Cool. And then next question, all about reels. So can you explain a little bit more? That's kind of a newer term for everybody. So how do you post a reel? Do you record it on Instagram? Do you record it on your video and then post it to Instagram? Do you have to put it on your story first, or is it posted somewhere else? What are the details you could tell us?
And I have an addendum. I have an addendum to that as well, because I also see a lot of people post it on TikTok first and then they put their TikTok on their.
That's what I do.
Like, what's the best like plan of action? Yeah.
That you pretty much just stole the words from me, Lauren. So that's basically what I do. And there's also, for people that do use TikTok first before they post it on Instagram, there's like a generator on online that you can take your TikTok logo off if you just want it to be more cohesive. I don't really care. But if I'm going to post the reel if you are, a company that does care and you're going to post the TikTok on your Instagram reels, you can remove that TikTok logo. The quality of the TikTok will go down a little bit when you do post it to Instagram, but there are some pros and cons to that, because with TikTok, you have the opportunity to use a lot more of video editing. Just within that one app, you can do transitions, and you can edit the length of your music. There's a lot more music to choose from. There's just so much more. I just do think it's a lot easier to edit within TikTok. So for me personally, I take the video with my camera, I download it from my computer, upload it into TikTok, edit it the way I want it to go. And I don't have a lot of following on TikTok. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I download it from there and add it to my reels and push it there. So I'll add it to my reels. And the good thing about reels is it doesn't have to go on your feed. So if the reel doesn't really flow with your feed, and you're kind of like me where you want everything to flow, you don't have to put it on your feed. You can just put it in that reels tab. But if you want to put it in your feed but you still want it to flow, you can pick a cover photo for it. For people that are just looking at your page and you want it to look cohesive, you can pick a cover photo for it so that everything does flow, even if that cover photo has nothing to do with the reel. Another really good thing about reels is it's kind of taking the place of hashtags where random people could discover you. Depending on the song you use, a lot of songs are, it's kind of like the viral song list or whatever. You can pick a song that thousands of people are looking at, and you click on that song and you can see all the reels that have been made using that song. And so you get a ton of exposure that way. Kind of like we used hashtags for a long time ago. We would use like explore page hashtag in college, and a ton of random people would go there and you would get some engagement there. Well, no one really does it anymore because they're all using this kind of like that explore page for songs. And so I think that you need to take into and think about what songs are really popular right now. Let's say you're creating a video, you're making jewelry, and you want to use Amazing Grace. Well, make sure that Amazing Grace is a viral song right now. Otherwise, it's probably a waste of a song on your reel, because not a lot of people are going to look at that. Look to see what other, what's going on with that song. What are the cool videos being used? So do a little research. There's a lot of, viral songs right now that if you use them, you're going to get triple the amount of engagement if you just use some random song that no one cares about, no one knows about. I don't have the whole strategy figured out. I know there's a lot more to it, but I would definitely say take advantage of that song option, because it's just like free marketing that Instagram's giving you.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a really good place to say that. We were talking a little bit last week about music as well. So I'm glad you hit on that, because it is such a big trend right now. Well, cool. Well, it is right at 5:28. So Shannon, before we close out, I want to give you the opportunity to, are there any kind of last words to kind of summarize what you think about selling on Instagram? Any advice that you have for all of us?
Yeah, I mean, when I have downtime, I try to watch YouTube videos and watch what other experts are saying. And you can get discouraged when someone tells you what they're doing and what works for them. And you'll think, oh, I've tried that. That didn't work for me. What works for me is not always going to work for you. And don't give up just because you see somebody with 1 million followers doing something that just is not working for you. It's not cookie cutter. You just have to spend time. Don't get discouraged that you spent weeks and weeks and you're not seeing anything happen. It's going to take time to figure out what people want. And I just say, just don't get discouraged. Just like truly try to enjoy yourself. Obviously, there's a money making aspect there that you have to pay attention to. So clearly still look there, but don't give up. I mean, I would say use YouTube. I use it all the time. There's just so many experts out there that are like giving out free advice. And I probably use it 2 hours a day while I'm working on jewelry. It could be about saving the money you're making, how to utilize the money you're making off your business to grow your business, or how to take better photos with your camera, that type of stuff. I would say don't get discouraged and try to learn as much as you can from these people giving out free education.
I love that. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for giving us free education today. I mean, this was just incredible. You are a wealth of knowledge, truly. There's so many things that we talked about today that, I mean, you know, you hear bits and pieces of every now and then, but to hear it all coming from you to really confirm or deny some of those things, like that was just awesome. So first, thank you so much.